You know, as we get older, the way we take care of ourselves starts to shift. It's no longer about the latest diet trend or trying to impress anyone. It's about feeling good in our own skin, waking up with energy, and knowing that the choices we make, especially in our kitchen, still matter. I've learned that the little things we keep on hand, the simple, nourishing foods within reach, can make all the difference, not just for our bodies, but for our peace of mind. So today, I want to share 12 of those little helpers with you. These are the foods I always keep in my kitchen. They make it easier to eat well, even on the days when I'm too tired to cook. They're not fancy or expensive, but they are thoughtful, nourishing, and, most importantly, they remind me that I still deserve care, comfort, and health. And I want that for you too. So let's walk through them, one by one. I hope you'll hear something that inspires you to treat yourself a little more gently, starting right in your own kitchen. Number 1, eggs. My breakfast lifesavers. I don't know about you, but there are mornings when I wake up and feel like I have the energy of a houseplant. On those days, I'm not thinking about preparing a gourmet meal or putting together a Pinterest-worthy plate. I just want something simple, warm, and nourishing that doesn't take too much thought. That's where eggs come in. Eggs are a staple in my kitchen, not just because they're affordable, but because they're so incredibly versatile. Scrambled, boiled, poached, or turned into a quick omelet, they're a reliable source of protein that keeps me full and grounded through the morning. When I've got leftover vegetables or herbs sitting in the fridge, I just throw them in with a couple of eggs and suddenly, I've made something comforting, satisfying, and completely my own. And here's the thing I really love. Eggs aren't just for breakfast. On evenings when I don't feel like cooking a big dinner, I'll make a soft scramble with mushrooms and spinach, or a simple frittata with whatever's on hand. It feels cozy, like something someone who cares about you would make just to say, you still matter. Back in the day, eggs used to get a bad rap. People worried about cholesterol or fat, but the science has changed. Now we know they're packed with nutrients, vitamin D, choline, and protein, all in a tiny, natural package. Honestly, they're like nature's perfect little gift. So yes, I always keep a carton in the fridge. Even if I'm not sure what I want to eat, knowing I've got eggs on hand helps me feel more secure. Like I'm prepared, in a small way, to take care of myself. Number 2, ground seed mix. My little fiber secret. If there's one thing I've learned with age, it's that digestion gets a little more, well, let's just say interesting. That's why this mix of tiny seeds, flax, chia, and hemp, has become one of my favorite secret weapons. I keep a small jar of it right by the stove. Every morning, I add a spoonful to my oatmeal or sprinkle it into my yogurt. It's such a simple step, but it makes a world of difference. Each of these seeds is packed with fiber, healthy fats, and a surprising amount of protein. Together, they support digestion, help regulate blood sugar, and keep me feeling full longer. It's funny. These little seeds don't taste like much on their own, but once they're part of your routine, it's hard to imagine going without them. I've even been known to carry a small bag in my purse so I can sprinkle them on meals when I'm eating out. That's how much I rely on them. Beyond the physical benefits, there's something else I appreciate. It's the intention behind that little sprinkle. It says, I'm still paying attention to my health. I'm still showing up for myself, even in small ways. For anyone trying to manage weight, cholesterol, or just looking to stay regular, these seeds are a quiet hero. They don't demand much effort. Just a scoop here, a sprinkle there. But they help me feel more in control of how I'm treating my body. So yes, this humble seed mix has earned its spot in my kitchen and in my daily rhythm. Number 3, salsa, flavor without the fuss. Let me tell you a little secret. Some of the best meals I've made started with a jar of salsa. It's one of those ingredients that does so much work with so little effort. And that's something I've come to deeply appreciate, especially on days when my energy is low, or my back is sore, or I just don't feel like spending much time standing at the stove. Salsa adds brightness, spice, and personality to whatever it touches. I use it as a dressing on salads, as a topping for baked potatoes, or stirred into scrambled eggs. It transforms the plainest of meals into something that feels lively and flavorful. And most store-bought salsas, especially the fresh ones, are low in calories but rich in antioxidants, thanks to ingredients like tomatoes, onions, and peppers. I tend to buy the finely chopped kind, usually from a local market or a place like Costco, because they're easier to use and blend beautifully into sauces. One of my go-to quick fixes is mixing a spoonful of salsa with some Greek yogurt. It makes a fast, creamy, and tangy sauce that goes well on vegetables, grilled chicken, or even as a dip. What I love most, though, is how salsa makes me feel like I'm still participating in the world of cooking, even if I'm not chopping a thing. It's a little shortcut that brings joy and taste without the mess or fatigue. There's something special about finding an ingredient that supports your health and your mood all at once. Salsa does that for me. It wakes up my taste buds and reminds me that healthy eating doesn't have to be bland or boring. It can be vibrant, colorful, and full of life. Number 4. Wild salmon. The freezer favorite. There's a kind of calm I get from knowing that dinner is already halfway solved, just by opening the freezer. That's what wild salmon gives me. It's one of those foods I always keep on hand, individually frozen, neatly packed, and ready to go whenever I need a healthy, satisfying meal without the planning or prep. Wild-caught salmon isn't just delicious. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for the brain, heart, and even joint health. As we get older, those benefits become even more important. But what I love most is that I can take out one fillet at a time, defrost it in a bowl of cool water while I'm reading or resting, and have a beautiful, nourishing meal ready in minutes. Sometimes I bake it with lemon and dill. Other times I sear it in a pan with olive oil, garlic, and a few frozen vegetables. It doesn't have to be fancy, just a few basic ingredients, and I feel like I've treated myself to something both simple and elegant. What's more, wild salmon keeps me feeling full without feeling heavy. It's light, clean, and easy on digestion, which matters more now than it ever did in my younger years. I also appreciate the flexibility. Whether I'm cooking for myself or a friend who's stopping by, salmon always feels like a thoughtful choice. It's the kind of food that says, you matter, and your health matters too. So yes, a small stack of individually frozen wild salmon fillets lives in my freezer at all times. It's not just food, it's peace of mind, ready whenever I need it. Number 5. Greek yogurt, my creamy companion. There's something comforting about a creamy texture, something that feels indulgent, even when it's good for you. That's why Greek yogurt has earned its permanent place in my kitchen. I reach for it almost every day. Greek yogurt is packed with protein, which keeps me full and energized. It also has probiotics that support digestion and gut health, which, let's be honest, becomes more of a concern as we age. But what I love most is how versatile it is. It replaces sour cream in nearly every recipe. It becomes a dip when I mix it with herbs or salsa. It turns into a quick breakfast when I add fruit and a sprinkle of seeds. Sometimes I stir it into warm sautéed mushrooms with garlic and rosemary, just a spoonful at the end, to create a creamy, savory dish that feels like comfort food without the heaviness. Other times, I'll simply add a dollop to the side of my plate as a cooling contrast to something spicy or roasted. And here's the thing, it's not just about the health benefits, it's about the feeling it gives me. It makes me feel like I'm treating myself, not just feeding myself. There's a softness to it, a sense of care. For women like us, who've spent years putting others first, it's refreshing to have something so simple become a small ritual of self-nourishment. Greek yogurt doesn't ask much, just a space in the fridge, but it gives so much back, in flavor, in comfort, and in nourishment. Number 6. Frozen mixed peppers and onions. The color shortcut. You know the saying, eat the rainbow? I used to think it was just for kids. But over time, I realized that nature gave fruits and vegetables those beautiful colors for a reason. Each shade brings a different set of nutrients, and our bodies thrive on variety. That's why I keep frozen mixed peppers and onions in my freezer. They're already sliced, already washed, and ready to go. No chopping, no waste, and no racing against the clock before they spoil. For someone like me, who lives alone and doesn't always need a full bag of fresh produce, these frozen blends are a lifesaver. I toss a handful into a hot pan with olive oil, stir them until they soften, and they're instantly ready to mix into eggs, rice, or even pasta. Sometimes I use them in a quick stir-fry. Other times, I just cook them up as a side with a little garlic and pepper. The beauty of these frozen veggies is that they make it so easy to bring color and nutrition into every meal. Red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, and onions each bring their own antioxidants and flavor, and together they create a dish that looks beautiful and tastes fresh, without any of the fuss. For me, these peppers represent freedom. Freedom from chopping boards, freedom from food waste, and freedom from making everything from scratch when I just don't have the energy. They've taught me something too, that eating well doesn't have to mean cooking for hours. It just takes a little planning and a freezer full of smart, gentle choices. Number 7. Jarred minced garlic. Because some nights I just can't. There was a time when I loved the ritual of chopping fresh garlic. The smell, the sound of the knife against the board, it felt like a little ceremony of care. But these days, my hands don't always feel steady. My energy isn't always there. And on nights, when I just want something warm and nourishing without all the work, I reach for jarred minced garlic. Some people will say, fresh is best. And they're right. Fresh garlic has stronger flavor and slightly more nutrients. But what's also true is that a spoonful from a jar gets dinner on the table faster. It helps me eat well without asking too much of me. And at this stage in life, that kind of grace matters more than perfection. I keep a small jar in the fridge and use it for almost everything. Stir-fried vegetables, soups, marinades, roasted potatoes. Just a little garlic adds warmth and depth to whatever I'm making. It's comforting, aromatic, and familiar, and it makes even a basic meal feel intentional. There's no shame in making things easier for yourself. In fact, I think it's a quiet act of wisdom. Choosing convenience doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've learned to be gentle with your time and your energy. So while I still keep fresh garlic in the pantry for special meals or guests, the jarred version is what I lean on when it's just me, and the day has already asked enough of me. Garlic is a small thing, but it brings big flavor and even bigger comfort, and that's why I always keep it close. Number 8. Riced cauliflower. My low-carb comfort. I used to think rice was something I couldn't live without. It went with everything, filled me up, and reminded me of family meals from long ago. But then I hit a point in life where I started paying closer attention to how food made me feel afterward, especially in my joints, my energy, and my blood sugar. That's when riced cauliflower stepped in and gently changed everything. Riced cauliflower is exactly what it sounds like. Cauliflower chopped finely until it looks like little grains. I keep it in the freezer, and whenever I need a warm base for a meal, I pour a cup or two into a hot pan with olive oil and seasonings. Within minutes, I have a bowl of something comforting and light, ready for whatever I want to add on top. It doesn't weigh me down like rice sometimes did. It's low in calories, gentle on my blood sugar, and surprisingly satisfying. I'll often pair it with stir-fried vegetables, grilled salmon, or even an egg or two. And when I'm feeling fancy, I crisp it up until it's golden and nutty. It's absolutely delicious that way. This little swap has made a big difference in how I feel after meals. No sluggishness, no bloating, just a warm, filling bowl of food that supports my body instead of slowing it down. And perhaps more importantly, it reminds me that change doesn't have to feel like sacrifice. Sometimes it feels like relief. Number 9. Avocado cups, little green gifts. There's something about avocados that feels luxurious. That rich, creamy texture, the way it melts onto toast or brings a cool contrast to spicy foods. But if you've ever tried to keep a fresh avocado perfectly ripe, you know it's a bit of a gamble. One day too soon, and it's hard as a rock. One day too late, and it's brown and mushy. That's why I switched to individual avocado cups. These little single-serve containers are one of my favorite discoveries. They're just the right size for one person. They stay fresh longer, and I never have to deal with the disappointment of a ruined fruit. Each cup has the perfect portion of mashed avocado, just enough for a slice of toast, a topping on a baked potato, or a side for eggs. And they're full of healthy fats, which support heart health, brain function, and help keep me feeling full. I also love that they're easy to freeze. I usually keep half the pack in the fridge and the rest in the freezer, so I always have some on hand without worrying about waste. I know some folks might say single serve isn't the most economical, but to me, it's worth every penny. Because what I'm really buying is ease, freshness, and the comfort of knowing that a nourishing, delicious bite is waiting for me whenever I need it. Sometimes, it's the little things that make you feel taken care of. And for me, these tiny avocado cups are just that. Little green gifts of nourishment and simplicity. Number 10. Apples, my afternoon ritual. There's a kind of peace that comes from routine, a small, grounding habit that carries you through the day with a sense of steadiness. For me, one of those rituals is the simple act of slicing an apple every afternoon. It might sound small, but after lunch, or in that stretch of time between 2 and 4 o'clock, when the energy dips and the day feels a little slower, I walk into the kitchen, reach for an apple, and begin the familiar rhythm. Slice, slice, slice. I place the pieces on a little plate, sometimes adding a spoonful of almond or peanut butter, and I sit by the window or step outside for a few minutes of quiet. The apple itself is special in its own right. It's full of fiber, which helps with digestion and keeps blood sugar from spiking. That means I get the natural sweetness without the crash that often follows processed snacks. Apples are also loaded with antioxidants, especially in the skin, and they help support heart health, gut health, and even bone density, all things that matter more as we age. But beyond the nutrition, it's the experience that I love. Eating an apple is slow. You can't rush it. It asks you to be present, to savor, to take a little break from whatever's tugging at your thoughts. When paired with nut butter, it becomes a deeply satisfying snack, balanced, a little indulgent, and surprisingly filling. I've tried other snacks over the years, but I always come back to apples. Honeycrisp is my favorite. They're crisp, tart, and just the right amount of sweet. Some days I'll add cinnamon, or a few chopped walnuts, or a drizzle of honey. Other days, I keep it plain. It reminds me of simpler times. School lunches, autumn walks, trips to the farmer's market. There's a timelessness to apples that makes me feel connected to nature, to my past, and to the quiet joy of feeding myself with intention. So, yes, a bowl of apples is always within reach in my kitchen, because sometimes the most nourishing thing you can give yourself isn't just food, it's a moment of pause, a gentle rhythm, a reminder that even the simplest things can bring sweetness to your day. Number 11. Dark chocolate, a square of joy. Let me be honest, I've had a sweet tooth my entire life. I'm not someone who can pass up dessert without at least a little internal debate. But as I've grown older, I've learned to work with that craving, not against it. And dark chocolate has become my truce, my treat, and my tiny daily delight. There's something almost magical about a square of dark chocolate at the end of the day. I don't need a lot, just 1 or 2 small pieces, slowly melting in my mouth. It's enough to satisfy that sweet craving without tipping the scales or leaving me feeling guilty or sluggish. Dark chocolate isn't just a treat, it's actually good for you, in moderation. It contains antioxidants called flavonoids that support heart health, improve circulation, and may even help with brain function. Some studies even suggest it can reduce inflammation, lower blood pressure, and boost mood. So I like to think of it as a little gift from nature, pleasure with purpose. But beyond the health benefits, it's the ritual that makes it meaningful. After dinner, when the kitchen is quiet and the light softens, I take out my small bar, break off a piece and let it melt. I don't multitask. I don't scroll through my phone. I just sit and enjoy. That act alone, slowing down, savoring, giving myself permission to enjoy something purely for the joy of it, is incredibly nourishing. Not all dark chocolate is the same. I like to choose one with 70% cocoa or higher, just enough bitterness to feel rich, but still smooth and satisfying. Sometimes it has sea salt, sometimes a hint of orange or mint. It keeps things interesting, and it reminds me of something important. Pleasure is not a luxury. It's part of being human. Especially as we grow older, we need joy in small doses. We need flavor, comfort, and the simple happiness of treating ourselves with care. So every night, I have my square of dark chocolate, not as a reward, not as a cheat, but as a gentle, daily celebration of being alive, of getting through the day, and of still knowing how to find joy, one bite at a time. Number 12, apple cider vinegar. My gentle reset. It's funny how some of the simplest habits can end up having the biggest impact. For me, one of those is a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar stirred into a glass of water, something I've come to think of as a gentle reset for my body and my day. I started drinking it years ago after reading about how it can help with digestion and blood sugar levels. At first, I wasn't sure I could get used to the taste. It's sharp, tangy, and not exactly what you'd call refreshing at first sip. But then, something shifted. I began to feel the difference. Taking apple cider vinegar before meals helps slow the absorption of carbohydrates, which means fewer blood sugar spikes and more stable energy levels. For someone like me, who's keeping an eye on things like weight and metabolism, that kind of support is priceless. I usually take it once a day, either before lunch or dinner. Just a tablespoon in a big glass of water. Sometimes I'll add a splash of lemon or a tiny bit of honey if I'm in the mood for something more balanced. And on days when I don't feel like drinking it, I'll use it as the base for a salad dressing. Olive oil, vinegar, a touch of mustard and herbs, and suddenly it's not just healthy, it's delicious. But more than the physical benefits, apple cider vinegar has become a symbol of consistency for me. A small, intentional action that says, I'm still paying attention. I'm still choosing to take care of myself. In a world full of complicated health advice and ever-changing trends, there's something refreshing about returning to basics. And this is one of them. It doesn't require a blender or a supplement plan. Just a bottle, a glass of water, and a willingness to show up for your health in a quiet, steady way. So if you're looking for a simple habit to support your body and anchor your routine, this might be it. It's not fancy. It's not glamorous. But it is powerful in the gentlest of ways. And there you have it. 12 small things I keep in my kitchen that help me feel cared for, nourished, and supported every single day. They're not flashy. They're not complicated, but they're reliable. They're comforting. And they remind me that taking care of myself doesn't have to mean doing everything perfectly. It just means making gentle choices, ones that support my health, my time, and my spirit. I hope something in this list gave you an idea or a feeling of encouragement. Maybe it reminded you of something you already do, or maybe it inspired you to try something new. And if it did, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and let me know. What's one thing you always keep in your kitchen that brings you comfort? I believe we can all learn from each other, especially when it comes to aging with grace and strength. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you'll keep showing up for yourself in small, loving ways, because you matter. Your health matters, and every small effort counts. Until next time, take good care of yourself. You deserve it.